In this video, I'm going to go over the 7 mistakes that I've seen companies make when they're starting outbound, and a lot of the false beliefs that keep them stuck, especially when they're switching from inbound to outbound and they don't really know what they're getting into. You're probably a software founder, maybe a VP of sales, but most likely you're a subject matter expert or you have been on the technical side. And the first thing you need to understand is that you can't treat sales and marketing like you treat software development. The difference is that when you pay someone in software development to get you an app, you pay them and they develop it, and if it's not right yet, you give them feedback and they correct it. It's very black and white. It's very 0 and 1. In sales and marketing, it's very different. We're dealing with humans. So it's not an exact science. It's a game of probabilities. We are increasing the probabilities that someone will open your emails, someone will read them, that someone will book a meeting with you. We're increasing probabilities that someone will have a specific problem your solution is designed to solve. But we can't force them to take a meeting, can't force them to purchase. So what you're not buying is guaranteed outcome. Nobody can guarantee it because nobody can control what the people are going to do on the other side. The second mistake I see from even very experienced VP of sales, which always surprised me, is what's your conversion rate? And the problem is you can have a SDR who worked at Salesforce, which is very known, and they get inbound leads and they were calling them a warm leads, or people who've heard of Salesforce so many times that they call them and they would book 30% of meetings. If you're a no-name startup with no brand recognition at all, you're not going to get that leeway. So people are just not going to take your call. They're not going to book a meeting with you. Believing guarantees is a big mistake. There are a lot of what I call bro marketers going around who are just spamming the market with tons of emails and tons of LinkedIn with generic messages. And they are offering guarantees to their clients because they run the math. They understand that if they spam 10,000 companies and on average they book 0.001%, then they know that we just need to send 10,000 and get a certain number of meetings for you. So they can make these guarantees and promise you this number of meetings from day one. By being really pushy with potential buyers, they will have a high level of dispute with you. You're gonna get meetings with people who would never buy a pen and they would insist. And the third one is, bottom line, this is a game of probabilities. Whoever is working with you is here to improve the odds. So promising you outcome means that they're promising you something that they can't control. They can influence it, but they can't control it. And so basing their entire payment on guarantees and on prospects they can't control working for a company they have never worked with no baseline is a recipe for disaster for everybody involved. Not just them, but you as well, because you're risking brand damage. Mistake number 4, expecting that this is going to be a quick journey. I've worked with a lot of companies, especially early stage startups, that thought that we would drum up meetings and that each of these meetings the people should have a need and want to buy immediately. It's not the case. Some people do. You're gonna meet 5 to 10% of your market that might have a problem and a willingness to solve it. And these people are gonna book a meeting immediately. A lot of prospects you're gonna meet, and I see it at my company, I see it for my clients. You're gonna meet them year 1, and we're gonna think it's a good idea, but we haven't thought about it, we haven't discussed it internally, we haven't budgeted it. And then you're gonna see them year 2 and the idea will have marinated. It's a better timing for them to purchase. It's higher up on the priorities. And suddenly they're gonna move forward. But none of these things are things you can control. You can influence them. You can make a case as to why this problem is important to them, so it goes up the priorities. You can influence budget. You can influence all of these things, give them ideas to problem solve and get to purchase your software versus another thing. However, you don't have full control. At the end of the day, they decide whether they spend money with you or not. What you can do is you can influence it by making them verbalize it and then book a meeting to offer a solution, but you can't control timing, right? And so through sheer number, yes, you're gonna find a few prospects when a buying process for a solution like yours. Mistake number 5, thinking that more volume will lead to more results automatically. I've made different experimentations through my clients where we didn't have enough results and I went over budget. I said, you know what, we've got 1 SDRs, let's get 2 SDRs and let's pay out of our own pockets. I see a lot of companies as well that just blast emails to the entire market, like they send thousands and thousands of emails that are generic. But if you're not getting meetings booked when you're having 20 conversations with decision makers per week, or you're sending 100 emails per day for 4 or 5 days, I think you should pause what you're doing and you should take a very hard look at what you're saying to whom. It's messaging and targeting. It's who you're talking to and what you're saying to them. It's always these two things that you need to solve for when it comes to prospecting. And if you're not working to solve it, you're just going in circles faster and faster, and you're burning through your market. So going back to my example, when I doubled the resources and I put 2 SDRs, I never got more results. I got nowhere faster, basically. And I started to really analyze what was going on, the calls, the objections, the pockets of opportunities, the ones that were interested versus not interested, comparing the job titles, the decision makers, listening to recorded calls. That's when I started to make the strategic changes that actually increased the conversion rate from 0% to 5% to 10% to 15%. And this is where we started to see more and more results come through. Mistake number 6, it's thinking that outbound equals cold emailing equals spamming the market. I don't know when outbound became synonymous with cold emailing and with cold LinkedIn, but it's just not what it is. You also have a very important channel, which is cold calling. Actually, in my opinion, cold calling is senior to cold emailing and cold LinkedIn. Here's why. When you call, you get direct feedback from your buyers about your solution. If they are hooked by the problem, you know if they're hooked by the solution you're presenting, you hear the objections so you can adjust your messaging. The biggest success we've had cold emailing has been when we had direct data from discovery calls and cold calls, and we can use that data to anticipate objections into the copy of our cold emailing. And cold emailing served as pouring gasoline on the fire and accelerate results. Mistake number 7 is leading with a product instead of leading with a problem. When you call the market, and HubSpot has a really good article about this, you only have maybe 1 to 5% of a market that is actively buying a solution like yours. You have about 10 to 20% that are in the consideration stage. They know they have a problem. We're just not sure yet how to solve it. If it's through software, if it's through consulting, hiring someone internally, or upskilling. And then you have about 80% of the market that have a problem but haven't defined it yet, or not even aware that they have a problem. So a bad approach is calling them and saying, hey, I've got this software that does X, Y, and Z. I've got this CRM, I've got this dashboard, I've got this cybersecurity solution that does X, Y, and Z. Because you're gonna sound like every other provider, and only the people in buying process are gonna be interested. A good approach is talking about the problems you solve. It's saying, hey, we found that companies of your size that grow that fast, they basically have a hard time keeping up with client communication and knowing what has been discussed by whom when. Is that an issue that you found at your company? That's a better way to pitch a CRM. Bonus mistake, mistake number 8, which wasn't announced at the beginning of this video, but I think it's important to cover it, is thinking that there's a super salesperson out there, a Wolf of Wall Street, was going to show up and was going to make you successful. A lot of early stage startups thought that they could just delegate it to the right person, and that person was such a sales superstar and so good at their job, then the company would grow. But no salesperson can fix a broken value proposition, a bad positioning, a bad messaging. They can iterate a bit on it, but at the end of the day, it's the founder's company and it's their responsibility to work on these things. So, very important, fix your fundamentals, hire for execution. So here you have it, the 7 mistakes. Treating sales like it's software development, that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, expecting past performance at other companies to translate to your company and your environment. Mistake number 3 is believing that guarantees are real and that they can apply and that they're a good deal that eliminate your risk. That's just not true. Number 4 is expecting quick wins and quick fixes from outbound. It can happen, but it's not something you should bet on. Mistake number 5 is expecting that more volume will equal more results. That's usually not true unless your volumes are extremely low, below threshold. Mistake number 6 is thinking that outbound equals spamming the market with cold emails. Mistake number 7 is leading with products when 95% of the market isn't looking for a product like yours. If you avoid these 7 mistakes, you will definitely be ahead of most companies that have this false belief, held them back in how they consider outbound. If you like this video, please watch the next one where I go more in depth into the timelines you can expect when you started outbound and how much time it takes to get results. If this was helpful, please subscribe, leave a like to the video to encourage us. I hope you like this video and see you in the next one.